You just went to your doctor. He just told you you're overweight. You need to quit eating so much. You need to get moving more. And you're thinking, but I really didn't do anything different than what I've always done. Why am I gaining weight and how do I lose the weight? Or I've been trying to lose the weight because I know I've gained the weight. Yeah, it's a struggle. So, welcome to the Menopause Rebel Table. Get your cup of tea, come on in, sit down, and let's chat today. So, let's talk about that midlife menopause, perimenopause weight gain. So, there's a lot of things happening now, and the whole eat less, move more advice just doesn't work in midlife. What worked in our 20s and 30s does not work in our 40s and 50s. And a lot of it has to do with estrogen. That's the whole thing. And of course, we kind of think of estrogen as being our sex hormone, right? It controls our periods, it keeps our everything going, right? Helping with babies. But but estrogen is needed for so many more things. It's needed for our brain health, our cardiovascular health, our digestion, our bones, even. So that's beginning to fluctuate, go down. Kind of, we're on a roller coaster ride right now in that perimenopause period with the estrogen or progesterone is decreasing. All these hormones are a very delicate balance. And now that their estrogen's doing the roller coaster thing, it kind of just throws everything off. And so as we hit midlife, when that's going down, cortisol tends to kind of take over. And that's our stress, fight, flight hormone. And that really, our body just doesn't respond as easily to all that. So, kind of here's what's happening in a little nutshell. That stress comes in, takes over. We get in that fight or flight mode, and it's really difficult for us to transition out of that unless we are really working on getting out of that. And what can cause stress on your body that's more than just your job that's really stressing you out, or your family, or whatever stressing you out, but even eating not enough calories, if you're exercising too intensely, doing some of those things are going to cause you to have more stress. So that just affects your whole body. And in that fight or flight mode, things shut down, things that are critical, like digestion. So, because it's trying to save energy, but it's also trying to store the energy that we do have. So, our fat is kind of redistributing from our hips and thighs from baby making days into this belly fat. And that is the cortisol and the estrogen working together against each other, whatever you want to call it, to move it here because this is a more active form of fat. So, as we're stressed, your body's going to want to have that act available, easily available. And that's, of course, the hardest fat to lose. And we all get that little muffin top in mid age, right? So, but also our digestion is going to slow back to the cortisol. Remember, our digestive system is slowing down. So we tend to get more constipation, get gassier, have more bloating, and that's just a struggle. And it just some days it makes it really difficult to eat right. And our whole hunger signals, those hunger and satiety cues and hormones that work together, of course, they're getting all out of whack. And so our brain gets a little confused if we've had enough to eat. And so sometimes we just feel like we're hungry all the time and we just eat and eat and eat and never feel satisfied when we had way too much food. So let's talk about 5 ways that's going to help you with your diet and weight loss during this stage of life. So, number one, we're going to talk about ditch the diet. Going back to that, I don't know, from the 80s, we did those grapefruit diet, the cabbage soup diet, Atkins, all of those that are very restrictive of calories. Now we've messed, number one, with our metabolism doing them, but that's really putting huge stress on your body. And I just think those of us that were, from the 80s, 90s, it's just so ingrained into us. We need to diet all the time, and you gain the weight, and so you diet and you lose it, and then you gain it back and you diet, and we're just doing this roller coaster, and that just really messes up with your metabolism. So ditch that diet and eat a good, healthy diet. And we'll get into that in a minute. Number two, lower your sugar intake. If you look at labels today, sugar is in everything, right? And so start looking at labels. You'll be amazed at how much sugar is in your food and where it's coming from. And we actually gain more weight from sugar than we do from fat. So start looking at labels, looking at what you're eating, and trying to find those sources of sugar that maybe we can remove from your diet. I know one big thing I found was salad dressings. Like, I got a vinaigrette one time thinking I was being really healthy about it. And I looked, and the first ingredient was soybean oil, but the next three ingredients were different sources of sugar. And here I thought I was being healthy by doing a vinaigrette. I was really putting syrup on my salad instead, right? Number three, choose whole foods. So, getting rid of the processed foods. Those are the foods that are so convenient and easy. And I know how that is. I have two boys who grew up being very active in sports, and we were on the run all the time. And it was so easy to just grab those convenience foods or pull things out of the freezer and throw them in the microwave and heat them up and get my family fed in a timely manner. But they're just full of unhealthy fats and sugar. And we just want to work on getting those out of our diet. Number four, balance your plate. This is so simple, and it just makes eating so much easier when you're working on this. You're not counting calories, you're not trying to figure out measuring your foods. I remember the Weight Watchers days when I measured out all my food and counted all those points, and you're not going to be doing this. Simple, easy. I call it my midlife plate, and it's going to be your protein, fiber, and fat. Simple, easy. So, your protein, a good quality protein that comes from good sources. So, whether you eat meat, you are vegetarian, vegan, just make sure those protein sources are good and healthy. And you want to get, this is where I do a little counting, but kind of want you to know, is 25 to 35 grams per meal, because in this age, we're breaking down muscle more than we are adding muscle or building muscle. So you want to make sure you're getting enough protein to make sure you're keeping those muscles good and strong. Then your fiber, that is as simple as some non-starchy vegetables. It can be cauliflower, broccoli, celery, zucchini, any simple little thing like that. It's when you get into the potatoes and the sweet potatoes and the carrots, peas, corn, those are more starchy. They're going to cause your blood sugar to flow a little bit differently too. And fiber, you can use some whole grains, some good whole grains. I know I like to replace my rice with quinoa. It's not going to affect my blood sugar as much. There's a lot more nutrients to it because it's actually a seed and not a grain. So there's a lot more nutrients, some protein in there, and some good important protein. So finding those different ways there. And then fat, and I know I just said fat, and it's a hard one. It was hard for me when I was told to add fat to my meals. I was just like, I'm the dietitian who went to school in the 80s when we were told to get the fat out of your diet, to do very low fat, don't have that, don't, you know, get rid of the cholesterol, all that blah blah stuff. And here we are today going, add in fat. We know that we need fat for our brain, we need fat for hormone production, and cholesterol is important for us in our brains, particularly. So, getting those fats, but you want the good, healthy fats. Don't get those vegetable oils, the seed oils. Those are more damaging to our bodies, cause inflammation. So, getting your healthy fats, avocados, avocado oil, coconut oil. I use ghee over butter, nuts, seeds, those sort of things that are going to give you the healthier fats, the fats that our body needs. So combine those all together. Simple, easy, makes your plate a lot less thinking about what you have to do, right? Number five, get joyful movement. Do what works for you, what feels good. Get rid of the high intense workouts and go lower intensity. The higher intensity causes a lot of stress on your body and goes back to the cortisol and how our bodies process the cortisol, the stress, and not burning calories. And then get the muscle building exercises in there because remember, we're breaking down muscles now more than we're building muscle, and we need the muscle to keep our bone health strong and keep ourselves strong through this older age so we prevent those falls. So get in there, do that muscle building, strength training workout. So that's where we are. Simple, easy, just little tweaks to your diet to keep you going. So tell me what you think, what you might try to do different, or what way we can help you. And if you have any suggestions, throw them in the comments because I would love to know what you want to do with that.